How's it going, everybody? This is Donnell here. Going to be starting off again with Wallace, Thurman, The Black of the Berry. Starting from 85, page 85 to 90. And I'm going to be shortening these up. It's going to be easier for me to recite them and not burn out from like the reading. Don't really read too much. So, but either way, I'm going to be starting this up again. Okay. All right. Saturday evening, Alva had urged her to hurry uptown from work. He was going to take her on a party with some friends of his. This was the first time he had ever asked her to go to any sort of social affair with him. She had never met any of his friends save Braxton, who scarcely spoke to her and never gave before had Alva suggested taking her to any sort of social gathering, either public or semi-public. He often took her to various motion picture theaters, both downtown and in Harlem, and at least 3 nights a week he would call for her at the theater and escort her to Harlem. On these associations, they often went to Chinese restaurants or to ice cream parlors before going home. But usually they would go to City College Park, find an empty bench in a dark corner where they could sit and spoon before retiring either to their room or to Alva's. Emma Lou had long before this suggested going to a dance or to a party, but Alva always countered that he never attended such affairs during the summer months, that he stayed away from them for precisely the same reason that he stayed away from work, namely because it was too hot. Dancing, said he, was a matter of calisthenics, and calisthenics were work. Therefore, like any sort of physical exercise, was taboo during hot weather. Alva sensed that sooner or later Emma Lou would become aware of his real reason for not taking her out among his friends. He realized that one, as color conscious as she appeared to be, would at some not so distant date, jump to what for him would be uncomfortable conclusions. He did not wish to risk losing her before the end of summer, but neither could he risk taking her out among his friends, for he knew too well that he would be derided for his unseemly preference for dark meat, and told publicly, without regard for her feelings, that black cats must go. Furthermore, he always took Geraldine to parties and dances. Geraldine, with her olive-colored skin and straight black hair. Geraldine, for all the people he pretended to love, really inspired him emotionally as well as physically, the one person he conquested without thought of monetary gain. Yet he had to do something with Emma Lou, and release from the quandary presented itself from most unexpected quarters. Quite accidentally, as things sort of happened in Harlem with its complex but interdependable social structure, he had become quite acquainted with a young Negro writer who had asked himself to escort a group of young writers and artists to a house rent party. Though he had heard much of this phenomenon, none had been on the side of one, and because of their rather polished manners and exteriors, were afraid that they might not be admitted. Proletarian Negroes were as suspicious as their more sophisticated brethren, as they were as they are of white men, and resented as keenly their intrusions into their social world. Alva had consented to act as cicerone and realized that these people would be more or less free from the color prejudice exhibited by his other friends, had decided to take Emma Lou along too. He was also aware of her intellectual pretensions and felt that she would be especially pleased to meet other talents and outstanding personalities. She did not know that these were not his regular companions, and from then on, she would have no reason to feel that he was ashamed to have her meet his friends. Emma Lou could hardly attend to Arlene's change of complexion and clothes between acts and scenes. So anxious she was to was she to get to Alva's house and to the promised party. Her happiness was complete. She was certain now that Alva loved her, certain that he was not ashamed or even aware of her dusky complexion. She had felt from the first that he was superior to such a named truck. Now she knew it. Alvin loved her for herself alone, and loved her so much that he didn't mind being a cold scuttle blonde. Sensing something unusual, Arlene told Emma that she would remove her own makeup after the performance and let her have time to get dressed for the party. This she proceeded to do although all through the evening, spending much time in front of mirrors at Arlene's dressing table, manicuring her nails, marceling her hair, and applying various creams and cosmetics to her face in order to make her despised darkness less obvious. Finally, she put on one of Arlene's less pretentious afternoon frocks and set out for Alva's house. As she approached his room door, she heard much talk and laughter, moving her to halt and speculate whether or not she should go in. Even her usual and high tension jubilance was not powerful enough to overcome immediately her shyness and fears. Suppose these friends of Alva's would not take kindly to her. Suppose they were like Braxton, who invariably curled his lips whenever he saw her, and seldom spoke even as much as a word of greeting. Suppose they were like the people who used to attend her mother's and grandmother's tea club meetings and receptions, dismissing her with, "It beats me how this child of yours looks so unlike the rest of you. Are you sure it isn't adopted?" Or suppose they were like the college youth she had been known in Southern California. No, it couldn't be. Alva would never invite her where she would not be welcome. These were his friends, and so was Braxton. But Alva said he was he was peculiar. There was no danger. Alva invited her. She was here anyway. She wasn't so black. Hadn't she artificially lightened her skin for about 4 or 5 shades until she was almost brown? Certainly, it was all right. She needn't be a foolish nanny all her life. Thus assured, she knocked on the door and felt herself trembling with excitement and internal uncertainty as Alva led her in, took her hat and coat, and proceeded to introduce her to the people in the room. "Miss Morgan, meet Mr. Tony Cruz. You've probably seen his book of poems. He's the little jazz boy, you know." Emma Lou bashfully touched and extended her hand of the curly head poet. She had not seen or read his books, but she had often noticed his name in the newspapers and magazines. He he was all that she had expected him to be, except that he had pimples on his face. These didn't fit in with her mental picture. "Miss Morgan, this is current Cora Thurston. Maybe I shouldn't introduce you ladies first. I'm no lady, and I hope you're not either, Miss Morgan." She smiled. Emmylou shook Emmylou's hand and then turned away to continue her interrupted conversation with Tony Cruz. "Miss Morgan, meet." He paused and addressed a tall, dark yellow youth stretched out on the floor. "What name you going by now?" The boy looked up and smiled. "Why, Paul, of course." "All right then, Miss Morgan. This is Mr. Paul. He changes his name every season." Emmylou sought to observe this person more closely and was shocked to see that his shirt was open at the neck and that he was sadly in need of a haircut and shave. "Miss Morgan, meet Mr. Walter," a small, slender, dark youth with an infectious smile and small features. His face was familiar. Where had she seen him before? "Now that you've met everyone, go sit down on the bed there beside Truman and have a drink. Go on with your talk, folks," he urged, and he went over to the dresser and filled a glass with the milk-colored liquid. Cora Thurston spoke up in an answer to Alva's adjuration. "Guess there ain't much more to say. Makes me mad to discuss it anyhow." "No need of getting mad at people like that," said Tony Cruz, simply and softly. "I think one should laugh at such stupidity, and ridicule it too." Came from the luxurious person sprawled over the floor, for he did impress Emma Lou as being luxurious, despite the fact that his suit was unpressed and that he wore neither socks nor necktie. She noticed the many graceful gestures he made with his hands and wondered why he kept twisting his lips from one side to the other when he talked. Perhaps he was trying to mask the size of his mouth. Truman was speaking now. "Ridicule will do no good, nor mere laughing at them. I admit those weapons are about the only ones an intelligent person would use, but one must also admit that they are rather futile." "Why futile?" Paul queried indolently. They are futile, Truman continued, because, well, those people cannot help being like they are. Their environment has made them that way. Miss Thurston muttered something like, "This sounds like hooey," then held out an empty glass. "Give me some more firewater, Alva." Alva hastened across the room and refilled her glass. Emma Lou wondered that what they were talking about. Again, Cora broke the silence. "You can't tell me they can't help it. They kick about white people, then commit the same crime." There was a knock on the door, interrupting something Tony Cruz was about to say. Alva went to the door. "Hello, Ray." A tall, blonde, fair-skinned youth entered. Emma Lou gasped and was more bewildered than ever. All of this silly talk and drinking, and now here was a white man. "Hey, everybody." Juices crossed. "I hope you saved me some liquor." Tony Cruz held out his empty glass and said quietly, "We've had about umpteen already, so I doubt if there's any more left." "You can't kid me, Bo. I know Alva would save me a dram or two." Having taken off his hat and coat, he squatted down on the floor beside Paul. Truman turned to Emily. "Oh, Ray, meet Miss Morgan. Mr. Georgeson, Miss Morgan. Glad to know you. Pardon my not getting up, won't you?" Emily didn't know what to say and couldn't think of anything appropriate, but since he was smiling, she tried to smile too and nodded her head. "What's the big powwow?" he asked. "All of you look serious. Haven't you had enough liquor, or are you just trying to see the ills of the universe?" "Neither," said Paul. "They're just drink damning our pink niggers." Emma was aghast. Such extraordinary people saying nigger in front of a white man? Didn't they have any race pride or proper bringing up? Didn't they have any common sense? What they've done now, Ray asked, reaching out to accept the glass Alva was handing him. "No more than they've always done," Tony Cruz answered. Cora here just felt like being indignant because she heard of a forthcoming wedding in Brooklyn to which the prospective bride and groom have announced they will not invite any dark people. "Seriously now," Truman began. Ray interrupted him. "Who in the hell wants to be serious?" "As I was saying," Truman continued, "you can't blame light Negroes for being prejudiced against the dark ones. All of you know that white is a symbol of everything pure and good, whether that be concrete or abstract. Ivory soap is advertised as being 99 and some fraction percent pure, and ivory soap is white. Moreover, virtue and virginity are always presented as being clothed in white garments. Then, too, the God we, or rather most Negroes worship, is a patriarchal white man, seated on a white throne in a spiteless white heaven, radiant with white streets and white appareled angels eating white honey and drinking white milk. Listen to the boy rave. Give him another drink, Ray shouted. But Truman ignored him and went on, becoming more and more animated. "We are all living in a totally white world where all standards are the standards of the white man, and where almost invariably that the white man does is right and what the black man does is wrong, unless it's precedented by something a white man has done. Which," Core added scornfully, "makes it all right for light Negroes to discriminate against the dark ones?" "Not at all," Truman objected. "It merely explains, not justifies, the evil, or rather, the fact of interracial segregation. Mulattoes have always been accorded more consideration by white people than their darker brethren. They were made to feel superior even during the slave days, made to feel proud. As Bud Fisher would say, that they were bastards." Okay, that's it for this one. We're going to be continuing on from 91. All right, I'll see you guys in a little bit. God bless. Oh, and the song is from MC Jin's 1489, 1459. Yeah. Bye.